We're back, ladies and gentlemen, and we have got a series on our hands. It is going to be at least 4 games, hopefully the full 5, and we are coming back now, back into the arena here at Mercedes-Benz. We're giving away some prizes behind us, of course. Crowd's getting pretty into it, but gentlemen, we have a series. And now I need to know what is the adaptation for both sides now, because RNG now find themselves in the back foot. Momentum, as Raz said on the caster deck, that was a far cleaner game in Game 2 than it was RNG's win in Game 1. So what RNG trying to change now?
A far better draft.
A far better draft, yes.
As we were talking about earlier, Karsa seems to be a very strong pick at the moment. Karsa MVP. I think it's more so the Karsa with the Gragas, at least. And people like to play also Karsa Nautilus. But just Karsa Gragas seems to be a very strong pick right now. So eventually look to contest a bit more the Gragas, I would say, as well. And please, I don't want to see RNG playing Ezreal again.
And for like RNG, we did see the Aatrox finally picked up. We saw it picked up 4th pick on the side of RNG. But then Ninar just kind of did okay with it, and there was no real impact for the Aatrox. So do you think the Aatrox is something that we shouldn't see in the series that much, or is it just too easy for either sides to counter it?
At least for our understanding in the LPL, Aatrox is a pick which can go even in most matchups, almost every matchup.
He's just a strong blind pick.
Yeah, it's a strong blind pick, and in that game he did okay. You know, he was even in lane, but the carry of his team is like Ezreal, so he couldn't really do anything much.
Yeah, we're kind of coming up to the same solution for RNG seems to be the same problem for RNG, is that when Uzi is the carry, great, awesome, we're doing great, but when Uzi is not able to carry, they seem to hit some rocks. And I don't know if they want to try and change that. It's a bit late in the season to do that, but I think FPX kind of see that that's the kind of solution they're going for.
It just looks like regardless of their draft, they're just going to tend to try to play towards bottom lane, so they just need to have a good draft to be able to play through bottom lane. That's what they need. And yeah, they went for red side in the last game, but they did not manage to get a strong team comp for some reason, or a team comp that just didn't mash well together compared to the enemy team.
And I think as well, something that we've always been noticing is that, you know, the Karma made its way through, the Aatrox, Yuumi is still permaban, as is the Jarvan. So and something I haven't seen yet has been that Olaf pick. Now, it's not exactly popular throughout any other region, but it is something that LPL teams, I'm sure you know as well, just had a huge priority on that. And why do you think we haven't seen it so far this series?
They watch other regions?
Yeah.
they watch NA and pick the Johnny.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe, but I think maybe the teams aren't like, yeah, they could be afraid of like not snowballing fast enough with Olaf, especially if they can't get Karma, you know. Because if Olaf and Karma are separated, then Olaf is on such a short timer to get an advantage for his team.
Do you think it's shorter than the Game 2 timer that FPX won?
A lot shorter, probably like 10 minutes, you know, or less.
Oh wow, so it needs to pop off within like 10 to 20 minutes, basically.
Probably
It only
only
has
has
an
10
early
minutes.
Drake, first turret, this kind of thing.
First kill, and if he can't do it, then the game is over, you know.
So what do you want to see now? I'll come for you first. What do you want to see? Obviously, we talked about the better draft from RNG. What specifically do you want to see them looking for in this Game 3? Is it going to be, you know, a better mid lane? Because like we talked about the Zoe a little bit, it didn't really do anything for the composition. It wasn't really, it was kind of just shoved in there as a, I guess we're poke lane now, so.
I think just looking at the 4 other picks, like the Zoes, everything was a bit out of place. It was not necessarily only the Zoe, so they just need to change up a bit of everything, I think. I mean, Aatrox Elise is just really fine together, but just don't pair that with like an Ezreal. Just play off something that can just hard carry a little bit more. So yeah, just change up your bottom lane, and I just want to Gragas to be a little bit more contested. Just don't give up like Karsa Gragas for free.
And for FPX, do you think they're now finally, you know, they've warmed up, they've sitting down, they're kind of feeling like, okay, this is our series now. Do you think they're riding high on that momentum?
Yeah, I believe, because like for Doinb, his personality is like extremely, like it's really extreme. So I think right now, really explosive. So I think his team, the team's environment is definitely very good now.
They have the momentum.
Yeah, they have the momentum to get the 3-1 win.
And is momentum a big thing in these series? Like obviously coming from your end of things, like, you know, having played best of 5, does momentum play a factor into it?
Yeah, for sure. If you're winning like 2 games in a row, I think momentum is a pretty good big thing. I think it doesn't really exist after one game. It depends on how convincing you won that game. Obviously, this game was a pretty big win for.
You can say stomp. You can say stomp. It's not. You don't have to be politically correct here. You know, we can call that one a stomp.
Okay.
You know, we can
well,
say
that's
that.
a pretty good stomp. So I guess momentum can be created there. Yeah, that can be a thing for sure. Yeah.
So again, you know, FPX. Now they've evened it up. It's 1-1. RNG versus FPX. We see them coming out onto the stage now. They're going to be feeling pretty good. Like, you know, the first game was very competitive, even though RNG got all the advantages. And I think RNG, they kind of look like they're kind of looking to Uzi like they're a little bit scared to kind of do anything without his permission. It's kind of like, we need you to do the stuff because we're not allowed to. And I want to see Xiahu, I want to see Langx, I want to see Karsa. You talked about him before the game. This guy is considered one of the best junglers in the world. And I want to see him do stuff with that title, because right now it just seems to be, like we said, Uzi and the 4 teleports.
It seems like they are not playing that much full mid. They're just like, both junglers are just directly going through bots.
Yes.
Or they're just like river bot side more often. So it looks like mid matchup just doesn't have that much impact on what's happening for bots. It's just like whoever have prior will just go bots, but they don't get prior with the jungle really. So if he's playing a champion that have a lot of free time, his free time is just use bot lane mostly. So if he's gonna play again a champion that have free time, such as Elise or Jarvan, I would want to have a mid matchup that is a bit more contested, such as like Renekton Elise or these kind of things where you can create something on mid lane. I don't want to see Karma Zoe again.
Karma Zoe is definitely what we call an uninteractive mid lane, but I do actually have a little bit of housekeeping to kind of do right now. You said 3-0 RNG. Not only that, you said 3-0 RNG, and if it was, you said almost 100% if RNG win the first game,
yeah.
they were going to roll over FPX. You're 100% wrong now because FPX have come back into it. However, do you still have confidence in RNG to take this series? I'll let you have a little bit of a change on your prediction, knowing that we're going into the third game.
To me, it just looks like if RNG lose this one, they will just lose the series with the momentum that is going to be created. And if RNG win this one, I think it's still going to be up in the air, I guess. It's just going to be a 3-2, I guess, for whoever. Like, it just going to depend on... I mean, this game is going to be a big factor to who's going to win for sure.
I like the way you went from 100% RNG win to they lose one game. You're like, I don't know. I don't know if they could do it.
I think they just need to figure out the priority. Like, I thought that after they won the first game with Karsa, they're just going to keep on going with that, but they just went back to the Ezreal, and I'm really not a big fan of Ezreal in general.
Well, it's to be expected considering it is now lost in this series and on Uzi of all people as well. Uzi's Ezreal, pretty much known throughout the world, you know, as something that is to be feared, similar to the same level of deft, that kind of a style.
I think he's really good on the champion. However, I think that the champion is just not that great right now. And especially if you're a team that is playing heavily towards bottom lane, I just don't like the pick for this team. I think it can work depending of other circumstances, but for RNG specifically, I just don't like Ezreal.
I'm going to put Nelson in the coach of RNG because now you're on the back foot. What's the dream bot lane you're looking for that isn't Yuumi? Because I'm banning Yuumi every single game. What are you looking for Uzi and for Ming to really kind of revitalize this bot lane?
Just like personally, if there is still a Morgana ban, I think there are like so many bot lanes open for you guys to play. That like a Karsa bot lane, or he could play Zyrakan or Varus Samkench. And if I'm the RNG coach, I'm pretty confident my bot lane is gonna win the matchup anyway. So he can choose, like there are so many combinations he could pick depending on what team comp he want to run. But they picked Ezreal last game, you know, so they didn't deserve to win.
You mentioned the Zyrakan. Rakan is just something that we don't really see here in the LPL yet. So as I'm sure you're one to know, like Rakan is just rampant throughout all of Europe. And I wanted to take your take. Why, in an LPL coach's mind, is Rakan not really seen as this kind of like good support in the LPL meta?
Because for LPL, especially the bot lanes, is they only think about laning. Like you could see, like after their first base, second base, they recall and they run back straight to lane, or they go to river and get a ward, and that's about it. They only help mid by placing vision, and then they'll just run back to lane. And for like EU, LEC, supports would roam mid and try to like find flanks or try to even gank the mid lane, so that they could mid prio. And I think the difference is on how the support plays in the different regions.
Yeah, I think you were saying that to me earlier as well. Like, our supports are also playmakers along with everybody else. But we are going to have to cut that short. We'll have to see how this game goes. And we're going to chuck it over to our casters to take us into game 3.
Oh yeah, we're moving into a game 3, a tied series here in the grand finals. That's what I like to see. This is Raz, this is Clement. You know who they are by now. And if you don't, I'm going to introduce them next time, so don't worry.
Oh, perfect.
Welcome back to the casting desk, gentlemen. And after what has been 2 really good games of League of Legends, I'm excited to move into the third.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we came into the series really highlighting mental fortitude, because that was certainly there at the end of game 1, and then as FPX took over game 2. We now need to see that from RNG, that adaptation in the pick ban that, you know, both Soaz and Nelson have mentioned, and more so, I hope that the last game didn't bog them down.
And I think RNG, from what we've seen over the playoffs, is just much more a team that plays well in established compositions. When they're going red side, counter pick oriented, they tend to lose themselves in the priorities. However, we are seeing what Soaz mentioned, the Gragas going over for Karsa.
And now we've jumped into this one pretty late here. FPX are back on the blue side as per their side selection.
Yeah, so the real evolution here has just been the fact that FPX have started to prioritize blue side for the Karsa. Literally, Karsa is the discussion now for the series. And FPX have said that we prioritize that heavily. We'll start to move away from the red side that we've gone throughout the entire split loving. Well, not RNG, I think last time around wanted red side to kind of, they thought that they would still be able to take control over the Karsa pick. Not going to be true here. And so I want to see what happens in second phase if the Pantheon finally gets unleashed.
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's been banned multiple times. RNG are going to ban it once again.
Sad.
While we are talking about priorities, though, at least the Gragas are there once again. So now we just have to look at the solo lanes.
Now I was looking at Stake. Boo this man. I want to see the Pantheon, but we'll have to see if FPX can force them off of it.
There's a couple key things that are changing in the draft. No longer is that selection for mid, so RNG can leave that last counter pick over to Langx. This is going to be the first time that Langx has a chance to prove his carry potential.
Hey, this is the first time that the GP is going to be available for FPX. Now, both of them are great GP players, but if you look at this composition for FPX, GimGoon, one of his most played picks, definitely wants to have a hold of that. And if they're going bot side, rain the cannon barrage on top of it. RNG either takes it away right now, or they're going to be seeing GimGoon's GP.
Would really open up the series for FPX. We have not seen that 4 versus 2 style of FPX where they dive to bottom lane and shut them behind.
I really want to know what the AD carry is going to be.
Oh,
what?
Yeah!
Wow!
Is that it, Clever?
Because they're really lacking in options right now. Like, the Sivir doesn't really work well against the Alistar, the Ashe.
I love how you just keep going on your point. You're like, oh, that's just a Quinn.
I'm
that's
finishing
fine.
my damn point.
It's really, really hard to see what the AD carry is. And we've seen the Quinn, but typically against the Renekton matchup.
So that's why I think this is that extra level in mind games. It could go towards Uzi, but if you're looking towards the top side, Quinn does wonderfully with the amount of damage you have early on. They're heavily expecting the GP pickup to be the case. I want to see if that's going to be the AD carry pickup or the top lane pickup.
Okay, time will tell. We're going to find out now.
Most likely will still be towards the top lane. Now, for bottom lane, we saw some interesting picks. Now, Uzi has always been known as a Tristana player. During his 2 World Finalist runs, he's selected both.
It's Uzi's!
But Uzi going for Quinn.
It's
That's the first.
Uzi's!
That's the first.
In the grand final, are you kidding me?
Look, the support matchup in favor of the Nautilus. And Quinn is definitely going to be eyeing the Karsa. He must have played this one out pretty damn well during scrims and in solo queue to be ready for the Karsa pick.
You know what Soaz said on the desk? He says, I don't want to see Uzi's Ezreal.
Oh.
I don't want to see RNG pick Ezreal. I'm
didn't
curious
talk
about
about
what
the
he
yeah.
has to say about this one after it's all said and done.
So we have seen the Quinn before in competitive, and she does have a very short window to kind of scale. She doesn't have great base damages, has very good AD ratios, bonus AD ratios. So you do need to get a lead with her, or she does fall behind quickly.
I mean, if we're just talking about base damages, the Harrier procs actually just completely makes up for that.
Yeah.
You can get like 2 rounds of Harrier procs, and I just love Stake just walking around looking to see where the hell Warhorse is for that one. Remember, both of them former Flash World coaches. But yeah, Quinn AD carry for the bot lane matchup. If you thought that this game was going to get toned down as the series went on, this is only getting more fiery.
incredible that Uzi has had 4 major champions here in the summer split. But in the finals, after the games 1 and 2, you bring out the Quinn to try and break that deadlock.
And this just has to be the most satisfying red side draft we've seen from RNG. Finally, they're utilizing the majority of their counter picks. We're seeing Camille being thrown in there against the Gangplank that has a gank potential. And of course, the Quinn in the bot lane that can dumpster on the Karsa early.
Think about it. RNG on red side. On solo lanes, we ain't giving you that counter pick. Give it to the main man, Uzi, so you can have your very rare AD carry counter pick.
After we talked about the Karsa being the priority, it's got a 100% win rate so far in the series, but going into game 3, that bottom lane, all eyes on Uzi versus LWX to see what breaks up here. The crowd is scattered. It's chaos. And that's all the flip-floppers suddenly going, but what if the Quinn wins?
I just want to point out the summoners here. Uzi is running Exhaust. That is the strongest kill lane that I've seen in a while being run in the LPL.
The Galaxy brain continues. We need more. Let's check out the runes quickly. Someone, please. Observer, we need it. Throw the graphic up. The only thing I honestly care about is the Quinn and the bot side with Nautilus, just because, I mean, the kill lane is certainly online. LWX and Crisp, if they were doing well fending off the dives last time around, certainly this isn't the Ezreal that Soaz didn't want to see to pair up with that.
And I think there's a very important interaction there. The vault from the Quinn can actually interrupt the Alistar WQ. That is not unstoppable, so you can get away from most of the crowd control, stay relatively safe, and still have that damage lead over LWX.
And remember, this is one of the few characters that still has a blind as well. So
oh boy, I forgot about that.
that is a nuisance, and if LWX gets hit in the face, well, suddenly vision goes bye-bye.
And I will say this, while the bot lane matchup is really cool, and we'd love to see, you know, what path that Uzi's going to be going towards, mid lane is still going to be pretty crucial to be able to get control of that bot side. Ryze and Elise is a pretty damn good, you know, kill pressure towards Corki, even with the Valkyrie. That's why he's went towards the cleanse pickup. Now we can finally see it. All fairly standard. The magical footwear is going to be the most crucial one so he can get towards his lethality items you would expect far earlier.
But it is overheal though, so there's a lot of questions towards the exact build path.
That's true.
When you have Alacrity, when you have yourself the coup de grace, and you've also got the minor rune with attack speed, so Uzi might not be going what we expect.
I think as a Quinn bot lane, you're not looking to roam as much as like a top lane Quinn. So what you could do is get that serrated Dirk and then just move into the Blade of the Ruin King. You get that lead with lethality, and then you move into more on-hit damage as our resident Quinn expert,
there we go.
Niberia once told me.
Well, there we go. That's a shout out. And another point too is like going back to the point about how you can, you know, are able to reign control through bot side. That's why I love looking towards that Ryze pickup. It's, you know, the most played one for Doinb. For him as a player, the Ryze Realm Warp kind of does the exact same thing that Pantheon really applied. Well, Pantheon much better matchups for himself. This amount of damage he's able to pull through, and also just being able to just drop ship himself to the side lanes, be able to have a numbers advantage. That's the reason for the pick and why he's been so successful with it.
We have to remind everyone of the absolute nightmare he pulled on Kuro. 2 rotations from the Ryze, was able to kill his Azir, and so far Doinb is 6-0 on the champion over this split.
Wow.
Over 9 KDA.
Remember that this is one of Doinb's favorite champions. On that note as well, you don't see many other mid laners or top laners for that matter still picking up the Ryze in the LPL.
All right, we're committing. Remember, it's Doinb's teleport. It's going to be in here.
Is early. Cocoon's not going to land. Ming now looking for the re-engage. Uzi's here with the Quinn. The blind will go down. Ming flashes out instantly. Uzi doesn't have to burn his own.
Yeah, they really needed that Cocoon to land. Or at least the Alistar to come through, but the squad's coming in hot.
Now, Predator is not available here for Karsa, so he's not going to be able to get in the lane in time.
Yeah, God bless the cannon minion. At least they were able to come in, get the full wave them for themselves. So able to dodge out from the gank, come in hot and be able to pick up the experience in the back half.
The start of that trade was very uncharacteristic from FPX. Usually you would just want the room prison into Cocoon. It's as easy as that. Kind of fumbled that a little bit, and at least out the back half of that, really good defense. The bottom lane walked up, they connected with the 2, so the 4-man was safe, and at least FPX are able to retreat without losing anything.
And I mean, Exhaust was used from Uzi as well, so all the kill threat we talked about is going to be minimalized just a little bit. Xiahu again. We're doing a lot of POV, gentlemen, on Xiahu.
Yeah, just so you guys are aware. So POV here in the LPL, it's done on Doyu and Huya. Now, they're not free. They were free, I think, the first month when they came in at the beginning of the split. Exactly. So, unfortunately for the English audience, you won't be able to get the chance to be able to catch it. But thank God you're watching this, because Langx is putting a hurtin on GimGoon.
Oh, and Karsa's here as well.
Yeah,
Gentlemen,
you ain't
are
going
you
back
ready?
free.
Barrel roll. Oh, he has to move. Okay, that'll be it for now.
You ain't going anywhere, son.
He knows as well. GimGoon even under turret. The orange is available. Langx dives in, flash immediately. Flashes away. That was close. But Karsa under turret. He has nowhere to go. Will he die to the turret? Good bit of fancy footwork from RNG's jungler.
Big brain on Karsa here. Knew that GimGoon was trying to just outplay the gank, flash away, was able to follow him with his body slam. And then when Cocoon came in, I was like, all right, I'm still going to slam myself out here. Denies the kill goal.
That was so damn smart, because he held onto his body slam like you were referring to, waiting for the flash to come out and then finish off the kill. I think Soaz is going to be proud with the big brains on Karsa and the Fnatic jersey.
Great start. First blood here for the Gragas. He may be behind 10 CS, but now pretty much negated. After that play, you could see Tain went over to the Raptors, tried to take away some resources to get himself back in that momentous position.
All right, let's take a double look at this one, because they had Langx want to at least start this one off. He had the shield initially just based off his passive alone. Karsa, as we had mentioned, recognized that. And he also just knew that he wasn't touched by GP whatsoever. So just great kind of focus in that situation. Remember, in a final setting, spotlight on you, to be able to recognize and get the most out of the situation.
Karsa aiming towards that top side once again, and we see a bit of vision laid down by FPX, so that should spot him out. But Karsa's laying the groundwork, stealing the blue buff away from the Rise. That is a great start.
And this is also the start of RNG investing heavily into their top lane.
Yeah.
Nelson was saying on the desk over and over again, we're sorry, but they're RNG, they're never going to go there. Karsa's trying to prove them wrong.
I mean, we have seen in the past when Let Me was up on the top set of the map that they would be able to play through, Let Me's Camille. But they had the ability to play through a carry top laner with the expectation that Uzi and Ming were doing just fine in lane. So it's nice to be able to see that flexibility. I'd like to see it in international events, but we have, we'll get to that
We got
point.
some time.
We have time, that's true.
At least seeing it against FPX.
Evolution's coming through. And, I mean, it's great just because when Langx is able to contribute during team fights, especially with the Camille, it's going to be super difficult for LWX to ever find a way out. So that's a lot of kill potential now going straight towards LWX.
Adaptation is great, but FPX's reaction was even better. Takes away the Ocean Drake. It's going to help with all 3 of the laning phases right here. And RNG, especially for that bot lane, I think it helps a lot. This combo does not trade with you that often, so you get maximum value out of the regen.
All right, Blade of the Ruin King start here, though, gentlemen. I know we were asking what the build was going to be. Cutlass already picked up.
Yep. Primarily, you would expect Blade of the Rune King, Phantom Dancer. You'd find that part, and then you start going towards the crit route, so you can either go Essence Reaver or Infinity Edge. Like, that's now the expectation, so there is a scaling element. I like the utility with the Blade of the Rune King, so, the primary focus is when you have the pickup, you can start rotating alongside with just your ultimate. That's a great asset for you. So if he ever finds a way out mid, then he can go towards the mid lane alongside Karsa. The mid game should be incredibly strong on the side of RNG.
And I really want to see how this kill lane actually works out, because Quinn is not a pick that is going to do a lot in these team fights. She's not really a high sustained damage profile champion. So you're really looking at the kill lane potential here, and I think that's going to come with the first Blade of Ruin.
Oh!
Hey, that's a Hawk Flash, Wall Flash immediately onto GimGoon. Explosive cast. Now Langx is having a happy time.
I had a DFG on that one. That reminds me of the old mid lane Gragas there. Knew that was going to be in kill range, so great job there. Just bullying GimGoon. Thought it was safe to go back to the GP pick, and I think for the first few minutes of the game, he was looking incredibly fine with the, early HP margins. this case, it's not looking good.
Well, top lane set up to succeed. 1-0-1. And the Camille able to push the wave out and then probably back. This is the start of Langxing's game here in number 3.
Take a look at the minimap, though. The control that RNG was initially trying to look towards the bot side of the map is now going to start piling up. They have a great defensive ward through mid lane to be able to catch if Tien's coming through from the right side. It should make it easier now for Xiahu after he bases. He's pretty low on mana. To get the push up in lane, work alongside Gragas to go deep into the enemy jungle. So while right now they're using those wards defensively, I think in the future that's going to be a great way to at least free up Xiahu and send him bot.
Well, for FPX, it's about clearing the top side now towards the Rift Herald. 10 minutes has struck. Tain's back up here, and with all the pressure that's come through from the RNG jungler, Tain taking this away means that GimGoon should be able to get back in lane.
One thing I felt RNG was much stronger in their semifinals was just the fact that their skirmishes were so much better compared to what looked like from FPX, and right now they have the comp to do so. There's a lot of initiation, and even Uzi, who comes in from a different lane, is going to have be able to make an impact with that exhaust.
And a lot of the reasons for that is because Langxing simply looked better and he looked more comfortable in that position. A lot of the times throughout the entire year, I'm going to even include Amazing Jane on this, a lot of the top laners that came into the RNG roster simply couldn't perform at that level and couldn't perform the duties that they had. And also, another thing as well, when they had good matchups for their top laner, they would simply still play away from the top lane. So this is a great example of them still giving Langxing room to work off of. Now that he has a great advantage for himself, he can be a great asset in these later teams.
Because I know he gets abandoned to stick a lot of the time. It's hard being a top laner in RNG. But seeing this game, seeing some resources go up is a great start now. For RNG right now, we're looking towards the mid lane because 3 have rotated through to get the shove out and set up for more bottom side vision.
Yeah, I mean, Scuttle Crab's going to help out immensely. Also, it's just, I think Xiahu needs an extra more wave to be able to get to his Trinity Force. That's all he's really aiming for. He's been safe for some time now, so it's been difficult for Tien to find a lane to work around. Can't go top side with how the GP is, of course. Can't go mid lane with Valkyrie and Cleanse at the ready. And bot side, he had been working towards it, but as you can see, the vision control has just simply not been there for them.
Yeah, it does look like to me RNG are trying to get a skirmish fight within River. They're starting to wrestle all this control away. Their composition, again, is stock full of initiation. Anyone can start the fight. So this is just kind of the calm before the waters start to boil up.
And we've also almost got the double Trinity Force, guys. Langxing and Xiahu both working towards it. And right now, the Corki closer to it. Also, Uzi backing right now will have that Blade of the Ruined King.
This reminds me of the old style RNG had, when a lot of the times they'd go internationally and they would still be recognized as a team fight team, but they certainly were, at the time, the best team at split pushing in the LPL. And in this case, you have Camille, Corki, and you can actually abuse side lane matchups with Quinn rotating through mid, up top side.
Good point.
So Camille and Quinn, incredibly high damage in isolated situations. That's what I'm looking forward to. It's basically look to the minimap and see where Uzi's traveling.
Package and Valor also have that same effect. So the 2 carries can just show up anywhere on the map. And this is so interesting to watch because you can see that even with Uzi roaming towards Herald, LWX can't get that wave pushed in soon enough.
Because he's immediately back down to the bottom lane. He's so quick just like that. And I think this is the one team composition I'd look towards and say, I would love a Cloud Dragon here. Be absolutely perfect as Langxing bullying GimGoon once again. And this is one matchup that is not going too well.
Yeah, I will still say as an asterisk that FPX's composition works beautifully later on in the game. You already talked about the late game situations Doinb and LWX has, but they have to be able to defend this. Save GimGoon!
Cannon Barrage going to be used.
Goodbye.
Okay, well, FPX pick up the double Ocean, so early game achieved with a triple on the mark.
That's why just watching the playoffs and seeing both Renekton and GPs be so heavily prioritized, because they can just eviscerate the wave.
Yeah.
When the jungler comes up topside, they can say, actually, not going to be the case. Uzi and Ming have to respect this.
They're trying to do this once again. Crisp and Tien pivoting over the side while Doinb's going to make the move as well.
There we go. I mean, so many people talk about RNG playing towards bot side so heavily that a lot of the times you forget about how well Uzi and Ming play on weak side of the map. That they were always respective of, the pressure that you consistently see from some of these teams. So able to play that one out well. And I think right now, the early games looking good for RNG.
I really like how patient Tain actually is in most of these early games. When he sees a lane fall behind, he's not rushing into it and risking a potential counter gank. He's saying, you know what, I'll take things from the other side of the map. And that's double Ocean Drakes that he's now been able to secure, and that will slowly grow into kind of lane chip advantage for FPX.
He's also got 30 CS in the jungle, so on that note as well, getting a lot of camps for himself. Has about half a level advantage if I'm not mistaken, but I love that the gold comes up for turret plating. It has been a much slower early game with only about 160 going over to FPX.
Seems like triple Ocean Drakes coming into this one. RNG does not seem interested in these whatsoever, but I will tell them that later on, if they get all three on FPX, it will favor this 1-3-1 composition. This FPX, they have very strong split pushers, and we've seen Doinb on the Realm Warp in the side lane. He can just show up into the mid so quickly on this rise.
Because like, if you start to paint an image here where I look at RNG and say that their side lanes should look good, I look at FPX and say, wow, I mean, RNG have done this trick a lot of times, so just to point it out, like, Doinb drop shipping his team, especially the Karsa, into the Baron pit whenever they have adjacent waves pushed in, to just completely sneak the Baron away from RNG. So if RNG wants to prioritize their side lane, they better put in great defensive wards around the Baron buff 20 minutes into the game, because that's going to be the counter that FPX ends up looking for with what seems like a better teamfight comp.
Curious about the priority here, because right now with Rift Herald just sitting there, while we are talking about vision, FPX hold that pit and it still hasn't been started up until now, it looks like, with RNG backing away and Tain continuing to take over these objectives.
Neither sides are really willing to risk it so far. The rotational speeds from RNG, I think, is scaring FPX a little bit from taking direct action. And so far, I think RNG are still the ones that should be fishing for the skirmishes, fishing for the picks. They can snowball down all the targets quite easily with their chase up.
Yeah, at the end of the day for me, I look at this and say, if FPX is retaking control of vision on the top side, they are still not comfortable looking for a play. RNG, on the other hand.
I mean, this is the motivational comp we're talking about, or rather movement speed. Karsa coming in as well. The gangplank is dead. RNG just make the move, and that was quick.
That, my fans of the Fire Nation, out of nowhere, descended on GimGoon, and they don't really have too much to trade off of. Like, sure, they're able to get top lane turret, and you look mid lane, and RNG are already there to pick up the wave.
I actually think FPX will gain an advantage in terms of objective trades in here, but the key point for them is keeping GimGoon down. If GimGoon can never split push against a Camille, that gives RNG a split pushing lane. 1-3-1 doesn't work.
All right, we'll just have to see if that Rift Herald actually pays off. It's just an investment point. Right now, they want to at least defend this mid lane outer.
Depends if they can find something. You're right, teleport will come through from GimGoon just to save the turret. Tain picks up the Rift Herald, moves to the mid lane while Langx continues to push bot.
And this is the most frustrating point of the game here for FPX because, you know, 17 minutes in, you can't necessarily look for a Baron. Even if it hits 20, you're not confident in the damage you have pre-Muramana there for LWX. And so enemy red side jungle is actually just so littered with RNG wards that GimGoon picks up that wave. He just has to expect that he's dead with how quick that Xiahu and Uzi are at being able to just dash straight into him.
And I think that's perfect proof to the fact that RNG are not just a team fighting team. In the past, I've always felt like they were strongest when they could play 1-3-1, when they could support their split pushers, and we're seeing them throw some of that chops in this game as well. They're setting up a very good quadrant on the map where they can get Langx fully supported in the push.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're just talking about gameplay, it's really nice to see that they are not just a one-dimensional team. Sometimes they choose to be as such, but certainly with how well of a team like Langx players, that is, Langx and Xiahu are, this team came into the split as a super team and should be respected as such. All these individual players are strong players. Another thing to mention is that this also gives them an opportunity to play through red side, and you still have to respect the counter pick. You just don't expect it to be the 80 carry.
We're doing this again, though, it seems, as Langx and GimGoon are going to face head-to-head, but not as they know it. Rift Herald for the bottom side while Quinn looks for the 0-3 gangplank.
All right.
He can't leave.
Put your hands up.
Cannon barrage first, hook shot Langx at half health. I don't know if this is good. Uzi comes in, flash immediately burn into the blind. Uzi takes one too many. A 1-for-1. You take that, because in the bottom side, meanwhile, we're still pushing.
That was pretty close, but I have to say GimGoon did outplay that one. However, RNG, I would say this was a strategical win. They still keep GimGoon down. Tactical loss.
Look, this is the definition of testing your limits. They said we could just do this on our own, but they end up losing out heavily because of that investment we were talking about. Riptail played off. You got bot side, you got the kill on the Uzi. Now you can go back mid, look to protect your outer turret. Actually, I just feel like RNG may be able to take it. We'll see. But at the end of the day, I still think that FPX got a lot out of that.
Yeah, triple ocean on top of that as well. So that resets the Dragon. We're set up for the Mountain to come back. And they even got that bottom lane turret, even without the local gold.
So right now, Langx is perfectly set up against GimGoon. There should be no world where GimGoon walks over Langx. The real question is, what happens when the Rise gets to the side lane? Watching this again, I think it's a very easy clear out from GimGoon. He keeps his oranges there. He's able to cleanse out of it, just deal tons of damage, and Uzi has to tank a turret to get the kill.
It's upsetting to watch if you are both Langx and Uzi. They thought that they had the necessary damage to tank up the turret and also just being able to pick up that kill on GimGoon, but the sustain that he has is absurd in that situation, and also just shrugged off the CC that came through. But I mean, if we're just taking a look at FPX's composition as a whole, we talked about the scaling teamfight factor. They're getting to that point.
Well, the ultimate peekaboo again, flushed away by Uzi. That was pretty easily done.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at it. LWX is getting towards its Runan's Hurricane. He's pretty close to being able to pick up his Muramana. Should come up any moment now. And GimGoon's been farming up safely, sure. I mean, the 4-death power spike is certainly helping him out. At this stage, FPX is starting to gain that confidence. It's RNG that needs to stop this from happening.
And the dive is going to be incoming. They have the demolition to take this one down. My question for...
Karsa! Burning? No, Quinn will not die, but holy hell.
That was part of my question. What does this Quinn actually do? Because she is not a good scaling champion whatsoever. And if you're AD Quinn, you don't even have that map presence that a solo lane Quinn would have.
All right, Infinity Edge picked up now. You said she's not a good scaling champion in comparison to the Karsa. Absolutely, but at least we get into a mid-game where we will see more of her.
Yeah, I think at the end of... I just look towards what is RNG's strategy and says that she doesn't necessarily have to be as strong as LWX. She doesn't have to team fight. Just split up the map. The focus here is on Langx and Xiahu to be on side lanes. So it allows Uzi to have, you know, a real purpose in this game.
But on side lanes, you don't beat anyone. You know, that's a problem when you're playing from a dual lane Quinn.
No, you're actually piling on pressure. You have a numbers advantage. So, like, you're just going to be playing through mid. The problem is, to your point, is actually if Doinb is playing through mid or LWX is going to already get towards it.
They have right of way. You're just
exactly. You're going to be pushing mid. You have mid shove advantage. So it's going to be difficult for Uzi as the game goes on, but he's still banking on this.
He's really sticking around Langx this game. So it's never that 1v1. It's always RNG looking in pairs for the picks, but GimGoon started playing very safe in this lane. He shoves, he leaves, he waits.
Also, just a small point, I like the fact that the Banshee's Veil came through from Karsa here. If you're just looking at what FPX has to offer, there's just a lot of CC, and specifically the Cocoon is how FPX will be setting up a lot of these fights. But yeah, Bodyguard Uzi's watching.
This is the first game that Uzi is going to be down the CS mark. He's also not going to be receiving that many resources. He's also down a level of LWX.
He's atoning for all those times that Langx teleported to his lane. He's actually helping out the top laner now. What I want to point to is Doinb's Rise build. Now, this is going to be the first time this split that we see him going back towards the Righteous Glory build. He is just so confident on a side lane that he's going to be able to make a great difference, that he's actually going for the tank rather than the pure damage output.
Yeah, I do want to see what the lane assignments look like, because if I'm looking at Doinb, I think he wants to group up a little bit more often to get mid pressure, to talk about like what they usually do with the Rise pick. Maybe they can try and gank Langx as the game goes on, but certainly if they get mid control, they can start utilizing the Muramana Karsa to try and sneak up a Baron. Especially with the Dragon pickups they've been having, it's going to force RNG away from the side lanes and more into more grouped open spaces.
Especially when we start putting Mountain in it, gentlemen. 20 seconds till that spawns. We look towards the bottom side. FPX still have priority in River. In fact, grouping around mid to find a pick. 15 seconds out.
Both of these teams are in a very strong position, and RNG really need to wait to Camille to get everything started here. While I feel like FPX just poking out of the brush can't hold their ground with the Dragon control.
This is a move from Uzi, though. Pushing up the top wave, he's going to be sitting on the turret, giving away the Dragon, while RNG either threaten the Baron, threaten for vision, or again threaten that pick.
Just remember, Doinb has teleport alongside GimGoon. Even if you make a play towards Baron, there are going to be members from FPX that will challenge you. So FPX just are playing the safer game. They have mid control. They now have the Mountain Dragon. It's going to be on RNG that actually tries to push them off this. They need to be the playmakers in this case. Karsa needs to be able to find that pick. He has Flash available, Cask available. He needs to be the one that can either get a pick onto Tain, Doinb to start it rolling for him.
FPX, with all their Mud Drakes combined, they're never going to be taking chip damage on their towers, because they can take a trade with you outside of the tower, just back off when the wave disappears. So what this means is basically GimGoon, even with his deficit, he's not really going to lose his own tower defenses. It's very hard for Langx to actually find pressure on the map.
I'm curious, is he actually in a deficit? Because this game, he's always been ahead of the item curve. He picked up Trinity Force first, even when he was 0-3. And he's sitting on a pickaxe, sitting on the makings of a Asterix Gauge. It's not like GimGoon is actually that far behind.
That's the benefit of a GP. Unfortunately, they got vision on Quinn, depending on if they had eyes on him. But even if they didn't see the Quinn, GimGoon is playing incredibly safely. And to your point, he should be always able to thin out the wave, so even if the dive comes through, he's going to be looking to outplay, and he's always going to be able to look to contribute and fight with his own ultimate. So nice defensive position from both Chris. They're paying attention to the low econ top laner, and it's nice to see.
And when you talked about how dangerous this late game could be when you have Ryze, Karsa, Gangplank, I mean, FPX, the game going this slow, starts becoming dangerous.
An extra factor to think about is also he just has stopwatch. So if he has stopwatch, if you continue to look for a dive, you're losing a lot if you're RNG. You need to find a way to either commit more people so you can stick around a little while longer, and if FPX tried to double down in the fight, then you can still perhaps win out, or find a new member to pick, because GimGoon's no longer worth it.
Yeah.
This macro is just immaculate from FPX. They're using all the vision, all of their wave control to avoid situations where RNG can ever find picks. RNG, you know, their composition is built for those skirmishes. They found effectively nothing. They just picked on GimGoon. And honestly, they're fine with that. FPX are just okay with GimGoon being the sacrificial lamb.
Especially when the rest of the map keeps accelerating. The Righteous Glory now picked up, as you were mentioning, for Doinb.
Yeah, and so now FPX should be comfortable to look for a fight. Not just based off that, you know, item pickup that he has, but I talked about the stopwatch there for GimGoon. Tain and Karsa also have that ready.
Yep.
They're battle ready. So I think at any point in time, FPX will be looking for Chris to find that headbutt pulverize combo. It's going to have to be an RNG that looks to react. And it's very odd. I mean, to the point that we were always making, even when RNG, and they still technically have that goal lead, the problem is that their composition is starting to de-escalate. Looking towards like the Karsa, Ryze, and GP, the teamfight comp is there for FPX, and they're getting the gold ready for this.
And it's heading towards Baron now with Vision in contention, 28 minutes in. FPX, they've got the shove on the mid lane as well. They just want this outer turret. They've been fighting for this for the past 5 minutes to at least make it easy to push in.
This is basically what RNG does best. Fishing for team fights, 5v5s around the Baron pit. This has gotten them out of so many situations where they don't have the scaling advantage, where they don't have the split push advantage, and now they have a strong shot of actually goading FPX in.
At least they're making use of the Camille here. So they're defending well enough so that the mid lane tower is not going to go down, and the time, you know, if you just take a look at the clock, Camille is banging on the door of your inner turret.
Yep.
So GimGoon always has to leave the team really early on, and it's making it so RNG can rely on the Camille a little bit more often.
Still 2 levels down the GP, by the way, and Langx's just hit level 17 with 270 CS, so he's pretty close to the clock. He hits the Krugs, moves away. That was a Realm Warp use, but I guess FPX want to keep sieging this turret, and finally they are going to get it.
Just faking people out, scaring away the defenders from RNG.
They know that Uzi's not going to be there for the fight. He has exhaust, not teleport. You can push your luck here for an inner turret or play towards the Baron. I want to see what the call is here. They still see Uzi on the top side.
He's sticking around, waiting to bait it out, but the Quinn is going to back off eventually. Pings were getting slammed down by FPX, but they're going to back off as well.
I really I really think this is super interesting from Uzi because AD carries are typically not known for being great split pushers. We've seen Double Lift have that kind of on his career, and Uzi as well has been kind of a question mark.
It's
They
just
found
happening.
thick.
Control ward in the pit means that they don't know this is going on. Pings are coming down, but now finally getting spotted. I don't think anyone's there in time.
It should still be free. Here comes the teleport.
GP comes down. It's not going to be a steal. Karsa almost dies, but Baron secure. Ming has to flash out
Chase
of the
it
wall.
down.
Can they find him, though? RNG just walk out.
That's that creativity we've seen throughout the playoffs. Last series, we also just saw Uzi teleport to a ward and just go for the Baron. They saw that window and went for it.
That's just so funny. FPX thought that they had chased off Uzi and he was backing. He stayed around for the play. He said, like, you know what? I'm just going to hang in here. I'm going to call your bluff, and you're just open for a Baron take right here. That was so well done on Uzi's side.
Yeah, that changes everything now. Looking towards wave control is there for RNG. It also just outright empowers Langx's position. These type of games can end on a dime so quickly.
Yeah.
If Langx is able to get a shove on the bot side of the map, come around through mid, and find that key fight when they have a cannon minion wave ready.
And now Uzi can keep doing what he was doing before with the Baron in the side lane, with the Quinn Haiti carry, still split pushing. This is a much larger threat, and FPX are going to be drawn thin.
The funny thing is, he's actually a good split pusher against the solo lanes at this point if they don't get caught.
That's going to be Ming getting caught. There's a Realm Warp getting followed up as Righteous Glory comes through. Ming looking to sacrifice himself while the rest of RNG hit the mid lane. They need to trade off his death.
Yeah, but he's buying time. You know what? Send more members at me.
Okay, he will eventually die. Turret does go down. That's a turret for a kill. Let's make it two, though, if we look towards bottom side.
Exactly. They've set themselves up for the bottom lane turret. So that's 2 turrets with the Baron pickup that they've had. It was a nice opportunity for FPX to kind of wring control away from RNG, but RNG played the long con, and here he is.
This is exactly how you play the 1-3-1. A lot of times you can suffer deaths and take objectives for it. That was 300 gold on Ming for over 2,000 getting from the objectives there. He was willing to use his flash, his ultimate, and his perfect timing just to draw out the timer.
Meaningful gold lead here in this game. 4,000 just about on the way to RNG. Langx hits level 18, hits that side lane, now has an open inhibitor turret to take care of.
And once again, you look to the minimap, and the wards from RNG do really well to stop FPX from making plays happen. Because bot side, Camille is well protected. You have multiple wards in the red side jungle. That's actually just yours now. If you look top side, I mean, it's Uzi who's constantly worried about that play with no vision, so he just pushes that one wave, backs away, knows that they have a wave now that they can now utilize to gain vision on someone who goes up top side, this time it's Rise, and then make a play through mid bot.
I'm pretty sure what we're going to see happen is Doinb eventually trying to catch out Uzi on the side lanes. He has really not a lot of escapes if he gets caught down in the room prison, and that would allow FPX to then use the extra teleport on Doinb to find a fight. So it's going to be a solo between the 2 kings on these teams.
Game 3 with new expectations thrown up in the air. 32 minutes in. And look at this. FPX trying to clear out that vision we were talking about. They're looking for the Camille, but Langx is just so hard to find.
There's just so many wards here that, sadly enough, that he just didn't see this one coming. It caught him in vision pretty early on as well. And so now Camille, even with the wards being taken out, is still well protected. So good luck here. Both top lane and bottom lane waves are being pushed in consistently by RNG. But that being said, Baron buff is now gone.
Gone without an inhibitor turret or an inhibitor being taken. For FPX, still fair game. And remember, with all the elementals they have, that's a very dangerous Elder coming up in a minute 45.
If FPX ever get to a strong 5v5 team fight, I would still give the win over to them. They're still looking for that big objective initiation that they can turn the game with. However, RNG, you have to say, in these couple of minutes, they were down 4 to 5K with that Baron buff. They're in the lead now, they're in a driving position, and have a foothold on the top side of the map.
Take a look at Xiahu's build here. So he's got his Mercurial Scimitar already locked down with this rapid fire cannon. He's ready for a play, and he can actually play far more forward now, knowing that he's not going to just be dumpstered by a cocoon or destroyed by like the only rune prison, because after the change, so you can't just empower it anymore. You're just going to have to put in everything you can to get that snare. So I look at this, I'm pretty happy about Xiahu's current position in the game, and I'm in the same position as the Colonel here. It feels awkward, but I'm really in favor of RNG just because of that last play. It's a back and forth game.
At least you want to see Xiahu hit the mark then, because in the first couple of games, I don't think I've seen enough of Xiahu that merits us talking him up throughout all playoffs, throughout even the summer split itself.
Yeah, Xiahu has done great things. However, the last couple of games has been, I would say, a little bit more passive and mistake-prone on his part. I kind of want to throw the question to who does the side lane split for RNG, and it really looks like Uzi is super practiced on this pick. This does not look like your normal kind of 80 carry play.
Yeah, I mean, Uzi as a player doesn't just go out and play something if he hasn't practiced it before.
Especially not in the grand final.
Because, 100%. Like, it's one of those things, it took him a long time to be confident on the Xayah pick as an example. And so for him to bring out the Quinn, certainly has played it a lot of times during practice to be in this position. That being said, they have to challenge for this. FPX has position over Elder Dragon.
Elder started with double mountain. It's getting shredded down. Karsa's in the pit. Steals it like it's no one's business. Uzi jumps back in, but he's going to die immediately. But can RNG get out? Karsa drops as well. Ming in the middle of it as Doinb finally locks him down. That's the Elder still for 3 big death timers.
But that's also the big 5v5 that FPX were looking for. The scaling is in their favor. The teamfight setup is in their favor. Camille wasn't able to get into it.
Clement, this is a long death timer we're looking at for RNG. 35 seconds for Quinn and 30 right now for Karsa. They can outright win. Xiahu needs to be aware of that.
That's what I was saying. The teamfight actually favors FPX after that one. That's exactly what they're looking for, and it's going to have to be a heroic defense right here. 5v2.
They're not stopping. FPX kill the inhibitor. They want more. The lead in this grand final comes down to this.
10 seconds now on Uzi.
Chris
Can they defend it?
He breaks it again. The Nexus turret goes down. RNG lose one. It's Xiahu who has to flash away. LWX takes the flash himself. He gets the shutdown. It's open season on the Nexus. FPX have it. They're trying to find it, but no. Tain heading away. It's so close. He gets exploded though. And you know that RNG now going to send it right back.
Take a look at the top lane wave. They don't have people to teleport, but I already talked about these long death timers. RNG are going to look for the counter endgame.
You're joking after FPX had the open Nexus.
That was Xiahu's MVP bid right there. We were talking him down in the series. He dodges out of the WQ combo, coming in from Chris. Alistar dies for nothing, can't take the tower out, and then they take out over the carries.
Chris is the only man alive here, and you have about 15 seconds to spare.
Can he survive? The support Alistar needs to delay time. He gets the 3-man pulverize.
He's down.
But he's shredded, and in comes the minion wave.
Wait a minute, 5 seconds. I don't know if they can end this.
Doinb's coming up.
Uzi's
First
low.
Nexus turret goes on down. They're trying to expose the Nexus. Explosive cast. Misses. That's a big ult to miss. They're turning it around. Chaos is their name, and FPX want to make it back into their game. Karsa will go half health. Uzi will die, and I think this is going to flip right back.
Literal calamity on the rift here. Now FPX has full control. Is that a 50-second death timer on Uzi?
They're teleporting to the mid lane. The Nexus is exposed, but they don't have vision in the Nexus itself. We're back to 3 again.
They defended 2v5 before. They can do 2v4.
I don't want to jinx it, but I think this is another endgame here for FPX.
Ming has 15 seconds. Chris has now respawned and is running down mid. Open inhibitor, and Xiahu has to bring it back again.
He has a lot of crit damage here. Can he take down the
He
damage
needs a
dealers?
2v5. Langx jumps on in. On to Tain, he uppercuts him. But Xiahu, get back to the Nexus. No! FPX run into it. Bring us to an epic match, boys.
That was back and forth, a little bit of fiesta in that, but I absolutely loved it. This is what we want to see in an LPL Finals.
That is raw adrenaline that just pumps straight through you. When FPX made the decisive call to just end the game, RNG were confident they can defend that. Xiahu did such a great job to be able to nail down crucial members, and then they were like, wait a second, we may not have teleport, but we can still look for an endgame ourselves. This is one of those moments when you have headstrong shot callers.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, even better defensive play from the team. FPX ends up picking this one out.
That's one way to get your Game 3 win. When you thought you had that base race, when you thought rather you had that push to the Nexus, and it all backfires, it must feel good to get the win in the end.
Take a look at that. Take a look at the amount of damage GimGoon did this game while getting absolutely slammed because of the comp that RNG were running.
4 camps happening in the top lane, doesn't really matter. The game was basically decided on these smart, kind of cheeky plays around major objectives and then the follow-ups. But I want to go into how this draft actually affects the game going forward. I feel like FPX have made a very strong statement. They don't need to move from this position. They're good on both blue and red. And RNG are the ones that are still struggling to figure out what they want to do with their bot lane. What is their style going forward? I don't think the Quint did enough. That's what I want to say. If you want an on-the-nose kind of comment.
Well.
But RNG as a team, they get to these positions again where they make that call to like bring the game back. Obviously, the game was slowing down for them and they were feeling really worried because of the comp that FPX were running. So the Baron play was excellent. It was exceptional. But then you get to the back and forth presence of these fights. And so when FPX was able to nail the fight around Elder Dragon, because after all the mud, you start going through it, it really was the Elder Dragon fight that started all of this. That was a great steal coming in from Karsa, but they just were overconfident in the team fight with Elder Dragon buffing it, so they ended up looking for the fight immediately afterwards. That's what I'd say nailed it for FPX, and then everything else happened.
And then everything else happened. I mean, there's a lot to go through with these slower early games with minor moves. Then you get to those mid and late games between these two teams, and that's their forte. They hit it hard, Clement.
I just want to see RNG actually focus down on a hyper carry. I don't care if it's out of meta, but I just want something that actually is teamfight prominent and deals lots of hyper carry-esque damage for Uzi. Quinn is not that champion.
But if it was successful with the early game leads, remember they ended the game with a lead. So at least like the strategy, I think they were playing towards it. The only problem was it wasn't a high enough payoff.
Yeah.
Now that it lost strategically, they're not going back to the pick. And I think it's a much stronger advantage here going into the next game for FPX in the draft.
I'm just going to throw it out there that Karsa has 100% win rate still in the series. So as you're right, Karsa seems to be the bane here. However it ends, we're going to throw back to that analyst test to break down, or somehow break down that last game.
Thank you, Hysterics. And we were jumping. Me and Soaz were arguing with each other. I was like, they've done it. He's like, no, they haven't done it. And then I was like, oh, they're going to lose. He was like, no, RNG have won. There was no wave at the end. There was no wave. Crisp is my MVP. Crisp is my MVP. He didn't go for anybody. He didn't go for like Uzi or anything like that. He went for the minions. Went for the minions, and that's what ended it. But what a series! What a game 3 overall. And we talked about this as well. We talked about it in the pregame. This was the game that was going to most likely tip the balance. This was the one that was going to basically say who is actually the stronger team. And right now, FPX, they're going to be feeling a little bit, at least we won, but that's heartbreaking for RNG. They were so close. They were, like, I think it was like literally 1 or 2 minions away from winning the game.
Yeah, it was super close, but it was still not one-sided, so I guess I think it's still up in the air who's going to take the series. It can go either way. I think one of the 2 key points that I can remember from this game is the lane assignment. I feel like that really poor lane assignment from RNG side. Every time Queen was missing top, okay, we know that she's gonna look towards bottom, so I think they should have put Corki on the side lane instead of having Corki just wave clearing mid throughout the whole game, and the Elder contest as well was one of the big key points as well.
Yeah, fantastic steal by Karsa as well, and that's when you start to believe that RNG are coming back into this series. But Nelson, we talked about how we wanted to see jungle top priority. We talked about how we wanted to see top laners actually being a part of this game. We saw it, and it still wasn't enough for RNG. They still fall short of the mark, and they end up losing. Do you think they revert back to just everything on Uzi now?
I think the first thing is, I felt they didn't execute the side lane pressure properly, because every time they had mid prior and they leaned towards bot side, they didn't actually get anything done because Gangplank just used EQ and the wave is gone. So they should have set up better so that they could just dive the Gangplank, especially with their support and jungle, who are basically like AFK in the mid lane,
It felt like Uzi was playing the jungle role.
He was a jungle and support.
And the jungle was just playing mid. The jungle was just clearing mid lane, and Uzi was just trying to gank the side laner.
Yeah. And I think the next game, I think it's pretty obvious, because for the last 4 years, RNG has gone back to the same style every time, every game 5. They're all in on you, Uzi. And I think the FPX coach should know this as well. And I think it'll be should be pretty easy to handle for FPX.
So as I have got a question for you more specifically, 2014 Worlds, OMG, you were in a very similar position where you're 1 or 2 auto attacks away from winning the entire game and it gets ripped from you. What's the mentality like after that? You've been on the RNG side.
It is different as it was not like a series.
True, it was a game. It was a best of one. Yes.
So it was like a game. In the series, I think here it depends on how well they can reset after this game. They saw that they could have won this game. They won the first one. FPX won pretty okay. It was a stomp. They stomped the second game.
It's a safe place, so this is a safe place. We can say things like that.
So they stopped the second game. So if they think a bit about it, like regardless of how the game ended, they should know that they can actually win this series regardless.
So for FBX, Nelson, I want to come to you. Obviously, LPL has best of 3s. You are now at match point. You're 1 game away from your first ever LPL title. Organization, players, everything. What kind of feelings, what kind of emotions do you expect to see from FBX? Is it going to be all, keep it down, keep your head down till it's done, or are they going to be excited? Are they going to start, feeling like it could happen?
Because Doinb is like...
He's going to be dancing.
Yeah, he's going to be dancing if he wins, but he's known to be like a very good leader in and out of game. So I believe he'll be like trying to calm the players down and just tell them like, we still haven't won yet, like there's 1 more game, and after we win, we can do whatever we want,
And I think as well, 2-1 at the moment. It is obviously 1 more game for RNG. They can't make any more missteps. And again, this game was just so chaotic. Like you said, they could have won it if we're looking at it from the eyes of 1 small mistake. But that's the difference in these teams. And then the higher you go in these leagues and these world championships, those small mistakes literally mean the difference for most of these teams.
Yeah, as I said, in terms of lane assignment for Elder Drake, something that many teams that I can think of in Europe would have done is just let their side laner split push. Uzi was on the top wave, and there was a wave coming in, and he could have looked to get inhib or even more, eventually get 1 or 2 turrets or even end the game if they can somehow stop them. They tried to contest the Elder, almost lost the game. However, I think that the early plays with Gragas and Camille were great, but then they just used Uzi to gank the GP, and I felt like this should have been Gragas' job, and Corki should have been on the side lane. Uzi should have stayed on mid, and then he could pressure both of the side lanes instead of just pressuring only the GP, which was it's really easy for GP to know when he's gonna get dived because of the map. So if Uzi can be pressuring both side lanes, in theory, if they play well on Vision and Fog of War, it should be a lot harder for GP to know that. So I felt like it was just poor lane assignment in mid-game from RNG. And yeah, eventually, if they would have fixed that, I'm sure that they could have pressured the map a lot better and eventually take this game.
And for, a fan, Nelson, as a fan of LPL, general good League of Legends, it's like this crowd was like a roller coaster in its own right, because it was just like, way, and like no one really knew what was going to happen next. And you can only imagine the pressure that players are feeling when they see that they can win, but it's not quite the way they, it's not all fitting together. So what do you think as an observer, like, is this peak League of Legends, or is there still a lot more for LPL to come from this?
It's not really C.
Yeah. Oh, now you'll defend Europe. Now you'll defend it.
I mean,
I'm just miming.
It might not be, because I don't think like we can call like this finals like peak League of Legends, because the teams here in China, they have not practiced with teams overseas yet. So I think it's only at Worlds where we will see like the best League of Legends.
That's what you're waiting for. You're waiting to hold your judgment for the best League of Legends at Worlds. But if you guys, I haven't been told the MVP yet. We're still waiting on that. But if you guys had to pick an MVP, I'll start with you, Soaz. Who is your MVP of that game?
Are we giving to the Karsa again, or
I think
are we allowed to like pick other players?
Can I pick a champion?
You can pick a champion.
The champion is Karsa. Yeah.
You just think the champ. Well, Kaisa's the MVP of the series. Let's be real. But of the player in this particular game, who is your MVP?
I cannot think of anyone in particular, honestly. Like it was just like team efforts. I mean, it sounds really cliche, but
of course, of course.
But I think as a pro, like in terms of this game, like I cannot think of anyone really that in specific that like I don't know if communication was in the game, but maybe we can give like tilt proof to the Gangplank, you know, eventually if he had good comms. So that can be my MVP. Like I'll just give tilt proof to the GP.
Nelson?
I think I'll give it to GimGoon as well because not many players can like continue to play as well as he can, you know, after he goes like 0-4.
And you think as well now, you know, coming into the potential last game as well. So, and actually I think I just got the MVP. I actually didn't hear it, but we're going to chuck it up on screen very, very quickly. It's going to be a surprise for all of us. And it's going to be GimGoon.
Yeah.
Nice. He gets that tilt
Our
through.
second choice, yeah.
100% on most honorable player. But again, like, you know, like we saw in the replays as well, he was camped out of his mind. He still outplayed some of those situations, and he did what he needed to do in those clutch situations as well. So, you know, it was a very good showing from him.
It's his role, like, once you know that he's getting camped, like, his goal is just, okay, I'm gonna get dive, I just take the wave, hopefully my team gets something out of it, or they don't get that much on the top side of the map. They cannot take the turret because I took the wave, so... Yeah, it did well, I think. It did well, but also it's a part of the failure of RNG that was very obvious in what they wanted to do on the map, and they could have targeted more than one lane, and they just decided to go for this lane assignment. Yeah.
And I think as well, Nelson, like, you know, we talked about how RNG, anyone who watches RNG knows they're bot lane centric. Now we've seen them try something else. Is this now a very, very big indication of weakness for international teams? Like you said at Worlds, you know, is it something that we see them looking very weak on if they're not able to kind of like win through Uzi?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the patch as well, and if the patch is like solo lane focus, I think it will be really hard for them to get like to win Worlds, you know.
All right, we'll have to wait and see before we come back. We're going to send it to a quick break. We'll have more to discuss, I'm very sure, once we come back. But when we return, we will have Game 4 for you and potentially the winners of the LPL Summer 2019. Don't go anywhere.